Who's coming with me?
It's a short shot. We the source now. Taking over the game, put it on padlock. With a better roster, sick as a plate of lobster. Let them niggas hate, but revenge will never stop us. It's a short shot. We the source now. Taking over the game, put it on padlock. With a better roster, sick as a plate of lobster. Let them niggas hate, but revenge will never stop us. Kill the cancer, you can call me a sick assassin. Cut the chains, you can call me LeBron James. Make a decision, but you never had me in derision. Changing the vision, but mark them that cause division. For real? Never in submission like I need permission. Nigga steady telling lies like a politician. Nigga need to cool it down, but we the new edition. Yes. Yeah, the name is the source. Check the reinvention. For real? You think we not prepared for the fallout? Watch us stack this information. Watch us. Yo. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. First and foremost, man, I want to give all praise and honor to Abanawi Yahweh Shema Mashiach Yahushua. It's been a while, source. It's been a while, right? But believe me, we've been working diligently behind the scenes, continually building, continually ready to bring forth powerful scholastic information. This video here was based upon conversation that we was having on Clubhouse, and with a few other brothers I was personally having a conversation with concerning plagiarism, biblical plagiarism, right? And whether or not the Bible plagiarized ancient Babylonian myth. We're going to deal with this today. And we're going to take a look at the ancient Babylonian myth. And our point and what we are asserting here today is whether or not the Bible plagiarized, or is this the parallel story stemming from a singular family? I think that's very important that we understand the difference, right? If one family takes a story and moves to different locations and retells that story with slightly different variations, that's natural. That is something that's going to happen naturally, right? Everybody knows about the famous thing when I don't know if y'all did this when you was in school, the teacher would tell one student a story that student tells the next student all the way into the end of the class, and you have an entirely different story. This is something that naturally happens. But to claim to assert that the Bible, when we're talking about the actual writings of the biblical narrative, you have it being written during the time of Moses, and then you have it being rewritten during the time of Ezra, right? So since it came so much later, they want to assert that it was plagiarized. If you know anything about the biblical narrative, you will know that in Genesis 11, it talks about a son of Ham that rose up by the name of Nimrod. Nimrod developed a few cities, one in which was Babylon, and they began to compile creation myths during this time. Now, if we're talking about Nimrod, you know that this is right before Abraham came into existence. When Abraham hits the earth, you understand the Most High makes a selection. He chooses Abraham, makes a covenant with Abraham. Abraham then has a son, Isaac. Isaac then has a son, Jacob. Jacob became the father of the 12 tribes. They go down a sojourn into Egypt, whether it be 235 years or whether it be 400 years. They were there. And then you have Moses coming out at Mount Sinai, rewriting the history of Genesis. So therefore, since it came so much later, it has to be plagiarized, and we're here to challenge that idea, right? Again, is the Bible plagiarized, or is it parallel stories stemming from one singular family? All right. I got my illustrious panel here with me. Want to introduce the brothers. All right, man. First and foremost, man, somebody who's not new to the channel, right? Our dear brother James Cassell in the building, man. What's going on, family?
Hey, shalom, Mike. Hey, shalom. First, I want to give all praise and honor to the Most High and His Son. And I just want to say, man, I'm real excited to be on here and talk about this topic, man. You know, the flood is something near and dear to my heart, and I love to read ancient mythical mythologies and texts and stuff like that. So I think it'll be a very interesting topic to delve into because I personally take the stance that, like you were saying, this is just a common story in the Middle East that stems from a common experience from a ancient family. Whether you want to do it from our ancient tradition and text, which is the Bible, or you want to look at like the Atrahasis epic, the Epic of Gilgamesh, or any of these others, you'll still see these common features, but it's because it's from a common experience that many of these populations went through. And that's why you find these mythological texts about flood stories all over the globe. But we're going to focus in on the ones in Babylon in this one. And like I said, I'm excited to get the ball rolling, man. And let's get it, man.
Man, Khan, all praise and glory. Yeah, man, this is probably one of the oldest. When you talk about the Epic of Gilgamesh, this is credited as one of the oldest mythos that we have access to, right? So it's very important that we know that, man. Also, man, we got the Precepticons in the building, man. Elder Lahab in the building, man. Talk to us, family.
First and foremost, I want to say all praise to the Most High Yahweh and His Son Yahweh Shai. And I also want to say spot shalom to the brothers and to everybody that's on this live. But I also think this is a very good topic because a lot of times we have people speaking against the Bible and saying that it's been plagiarized from other cultures. I just want us to get to the bottom of this and get to the information and show the parallels between those other cultures, those near cultures, and Israel. Shabbat Shalom.
Khan. All praise and glory. All praise and glory. Last and definitely least, okay. My beloved brother is in the building. Talk to us, family.
Yo, all praises to the Most High. First thing first, all praises to the Most High. Yes, man, I'm the lowest man on the totem pole. You ain't got to tell the world what's wrong with you. Yeah, Shalom, family, man. How about Shemi Al-Shabrakatah? I'm definitely looking forward to listening and learning, man, from you brothers, man. I'm sound like a very interesting lesson and points that I can make, I definitely make. But I'm definitely coming from the understanding that these things are similar because of the parenthood and the lineage that the world, how the world was structured through Noah. And I think these things just trickle down through there, off into different veins. But I think the Bible held was responsible, and the Israelites were responsible for the truest record. And I think all other nations hold us to that standard as well, which is why they all compete with the Bible and not one another. So I think we can get into it, and I think we can see them similarities. But like I said, they all got the similar source, and I think what the brother said already been spoken well enough. So I'm a year right there and listen and learn, man.
Khan. All praise and glory, man. So again, we're going to be utilizing a video here. Let me get the name of this video. Get the name of this video here by Mythos. Let's look here. Mythos History. Mythological History is the name of the channel. Mythological History. Again, this is not, we're not in combating with this channel. We're using it as a template, right? Because it's going into the ancient myth, right? So we're just using it as a template, and we're gonna show the parallels, and we want to find out whether or not the Bible is plagiarized or the Bible has parallels. Okay, so again, Let me get my fair use up. Let me get my fair use up. YouTube, we don't want no problems. All right. Let me get another one. I got another fair use. Let me use this one too. Okay. Fair use. All right. Again, we're utilizing this this video as a template for a teaching opportunity, right? So we're going to be going through this video and periodically stopping and showing and pointing out the parallels. All right, because that's our goal. All right. So let's go into it.
The Anunnaki were a group of deities worshipped in ancient Mesopotamia. The ancient actually extraterrestrial beings who came to Earth in the past and enslaved humans. The oldest of them is said to be Enlil, the god of air and wind. He was one of the most important and powerful gods. Was he the one who caused the great flood which wiped out the entire human race?
Is it bogging down on you guys' end?
Yeah, I'm about to send you a link that you'll be able to go and download it real quick, and then you'll be able to play it that way without all this issues.
Okay.
All right, check your text message.
All right, James, you can say something real quick while I'm getting this up.
All right. Well, one thing I say about it, I would say that, from just what I've seen of the video so far, and I haven't watched the full video before this, but he's probably taking a lot of liberties with the text as far as he go into these stories, because he talks about the first god being Enlil, when we know the first god in the text is actually Anu. Enlil sits more as like in a kingly position above the council of these heavenly beings, and then you have Anu that's off in the heavens. So it's a little bit different in that variation, but I think that it's enough for us to glean some of the differences from the Hebraic text and their text. Like I know, like in Astrahasis text, which this one doesn't go into, um, the rain lasts for 40 days, and think it lasts for 7 days and 7 nights. Yeah, while the biblical text is 40 days and 40 nights. You know, they still send out the ravens and different things like that, but it's not exactly the same as the biblical text, because these gods pretty much Enlil was just mad that the humanity was doing too much in his eyes, being too loud, because they created humanity to work, and humanity was grumbling about the work because the work was too tough. They weren't getting days off. They was just work, work, work every day. So they was grumbling, and Lil got tired of it and pretty much decided to send a flood to wipe them out. And then Inky, the trickster god, goes and find Astrahasis, tells him about, everything going on because he thought he was a good man and was a righteous man who always praised them and stuff. So he told him what was going on, told him to build an ark to outlast the flood. The gods got mad about Inky doing that, and there was a fallout in the heavens about that. But so it's different from the Hebraic text. Just off what I'm telling you now, you can see the big difference because there's no fallout in the heavens about it. There's no heavenly council going on arguing about in the text. No, God is being just at the same time as he's being a redeemer in the text. It's not two different gods doing that. And when you look at the ancient Babylonians, you're dealing more with what we call henotheism, which I also believe that the ancient Israelites dealt with as well. But they looked at these lesser gods or so as just angelic beings, while they would put the great God and creator of all as seeing as God, as the creator, the embodiment of all wisdom and all power, right? While you would have Enlil sit in a position more like a king priest of heaven type position where he's running the day-to-day operations of the heavens, and he goes to Anu in order for things to be done and get his permission for things to be done, stuff like
Hey
that.
James, speak on that because that's a great point.
Hmm.
Speak on the henotheism aspect. So, because a lot of people don't understand that it's almost like we're asserting that the Israelites believed in multiple gods, and that's not the case. So, if you can
Nah.
speak on that a little bit.
Okay, well, henotheism is the idea, which I'm gonna tell it from other cultures, then I'm gonna bring it back to the Hebraic context. In other contexts, in other cultural contexts, is like there are there's the creator God, and then there are I say greater gods, then lesser gods
Lesser
beneath
gods,
that.
right?
You see, and while in our Hebraic text, we would look at that more like there's God, then you have Jesus, then you or you have the king and priest of heaven for those who don't accept Christ. It's king and priest of heaven. Then you have the higher angels, like the seven flames that sit before the throne, and some people consider those the archangels. And then you have lesser angels underneath them. And I believe that the ancient Hebrews looked at it in this context. We worship the creator God, the creator of all. But when you deal with these other cultures, they may worship lesser gods because they fit into the scheme of how things are supposed to be run, right? So if you worship the great God or the highest God, then you by virtue have rulership here on earth, right? While if you create maybe a lesser God, you may have just a position and role to play here on earth in that greater scheme. And it parallels directly from heaven and earth. That's the way I see it. Now, that's my view of it. But back to the point of henotheism, it's the same thing as, like I said, you have God, you have your king and priest of heaven, you have your higher angels or your archangels, and you have your lesser angels, right? But in our context, we only worship the creator because he's the only one worthy of worship, because he is, at the end of the day, all in all. Everything comes from him. Why would you worship something lesser than the greatest? I mean, it makes no sense. Nothing else would be worth worshiping but the greatest. And I think that is one of the greatest inspirational things that the Abrahamic faith have brought into the world, especially starting with the Judaic text, is that view. Why worship anything less than that which is the greatest, right? And that's the only thing that it makes sense to worship. And I think that's why most people are real quick to fall in line with the Abrahamic faiths, and they are the biggest faiths on the planet.
Yeah, I think that and we can get a scripture on that, man. A scripture's popping up in my mind, but I don't want to get ahead of myself in this lesson. because I do want to actually give you all opportunity for this video clip, so you all can get the gist of what we're saying from this particular perspective, right? So we can start talking about what the Bible calls the heavenly Sanhedrin. And this is where henotheism comes into play, and it's more crystallized, utilizing the Bible. So I definitely want to get into that. I know Elder Lahab can speak on that. Brother Is can speak. We was talking about that a few weeks ago, right, Elder Lahab?
Yes, sir. But I'm gonna let y'all go ahead and cook because I like where it's going at. So I'm gonna let you. I'm get into it. Let's get it going.
All right, I think I got it pulled up here. I'm about to share my screen. I'm gonna share my screen now. Can you all hear that?
Nah, I don't hear nothing.
Yeah, I ain't getting no audio either.
Yeah, I can see it, but I don't hear nothing.
I got a couple tabs down. I got the video, but the audio didn't come with it, man. Let me see. It's crazy. All right, family, bear with us. Try to get this thing going. I think I know why. Hold on. I think I know why. All right, here we go. Can you all hear that?
Yeah, it don't sound. It's not really clear.
Can anybody hear it? Cause I don't.
Yeah, I don't hear nothing, Jeremy.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but you got an echo though, Jeremy. A
What's the
bad one too. Say something else.
mic check? 1 2 1 2.
That sound better right there.
All right, let me go. Let me go here. All right.
Was he the one who caused the
We can hear it, but it got an echo, Jeremy.
If you haven't already, go hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you won't miss any of my new.
In the bottom right corner, that the little green triangle, turn that up a little bit. That's where the volume control is, yeah. And now you probably can turn down. I don't know how loud it's gonna come out now. We can't hear it because you got both your things muted.
Enlil was not only worshipped by them, but also by the Akkadians, Babylonians,
Yeah, that's it
Assyrians,
right there.
and
That sound
Hittites at the
good.
same time.
Yeah, and turn it up a little bit more
It was
on
known to the
the
Sumerians as Enlil. The
CPU.
king was called Enlil, meaning he was primarily worshipped at the Eker temple in the ancient Sumerian city of Nippur. The Eker temple was believed to have been built by Enlil himself, and the name of this temple literally means mountain house. And it was also seen as a channel of communication between heaven and earth.
If you mute both of them, we can't hear no more.
Had to travel and visit the Eker temple to be legitimized. The temple flourished with the donations of lands
Yeah.
and precious objects of various kings. With the city's advancement, the cult of Enlil grew bigger and bigger, but when it was sacked by the Elamites in 1230 BC, the cult slowly declined and Enlil was eventually supplanted as the chief god of. But even during the Babylonian period, the people never stopped honoring him. They called him Lil. Many Babylonian kings still traveled to the holy city of Nippur to seek recognition of their right to rule. Before Enlil, the sky god Anu was seen as the chief god of the Mesopotamian pantheon. Enlil is Anu's son. He is credited for making the earth a perfect place for humans to live by separating the heaven as the second most powerful Mesopotamian god next to his father, Anu. But sometimes he was seen as a god who was stronger than Anu himself. There was also a practice of invoking their names together in rituals. Enlil possessed the tablets of destiny, which contained the fates of gods and humanity. It gave him immense power and authority. In some inscriptions, he is mentioned as the father of the black-headed people, which refers to the Sumerians, and father of the gods. In his role as Lord Wind, Enlil was seen as the moist wind of spring, but also the wind of a destructive.
The black-headed people, very interesting, right?
Khan, we know that the
Can y'all hear me?
ancient people of Sumer were a brown-skinned people. So there's no question about that, and the
Yes,
ancient
sir.
text validates that.
Right, and I want to kind of go because we're going to touch a lot of things here, man. The Godhead conversation, which is like the number one talked about thing on Clubhouse. We're going to go into it in just a second.
Storm. He was thus seen as a god with a two-sided nature. He was also credited with the creation of the hoe, a tool used in farming. The Sumerian flood story is one of the oldest flood stories in the world. It is also called Genesis. But the causes of the flood are unclear because the portion of the tablet recording the beginning of the story has been destroyed. It explains how the Sumerian people were created by Enlil, Enki, and Ninhursag at the beginning. All right, so real quick, I want to take a point real quick on this. So it says here, it talked about, we just got a point that was made about a father and a son are a greater power and a lesser power, right? And I want to point this out for those who act as if Christ did not begin, there's no pre-incarnate Christ. But Christ says something, when the Bible says something very unique here concerning that, right? If we go to, hey, Lahab, can you read for me real quick? John 17 and 5. Let's go there real quick.
Let me get there right quick, Jeremiah. This is the book of John, chapter 17, verse 5. And it reads, "And now, O Father, glorify thou me with thine own self, with the glory which I had with thee before the world was." I'm going to keep going. That's it.
So Christ is asking to be glorified with the Father's power that he had when? Before
the world was.
I think that's very important because a lot of people are out teaching now that Christ only existed when he was born through Mary. And we, the Precepticons and other brothers, have been pointing out that Christ had an existence before Mary. Right? Lahab, would you want to speak on that?
Nah, you could. Maybe it is. I ain't really got nothing to say on that. You know, that Godhead, like you said, that's the most talked about topic. I'm kind of Godheaded out, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but I just want to take this opportunity to show the people that Christ here is asking to be glorified, which to be glorified. It says, "O Father, glorify thou me." Who me? Who's the me? That's Christ. With thy own self, with the Father's power, with the glory. What glory? The glory that's coming from the Father, which he had with thee when? Before the world was. That right there shows you and I that Christ was in existence before the world was. Right?
Hey, go to John 1:1 real
I want to
quick.
go back to the video here.
Hey, Jeremiah, go to
You got
John
something,
1:1
James?
real quick. Yeah, go to
1
John
and
1
1?
and 1 real quick, and I think it's in
Right.
Colossians. I'll grab it
1
in
and 5.
yeah,
I'll get
1 and
I'll
15.
get the Colossians 1 and 15 if you want me to, James. I got you
Yeah,
though.
please do. I let Jeremiah pull that up on the screen. What it
I
say
got
right
you.
there, verse 1?
John 1 and 1.
In the beginning was the Word,
You
and the
got that
Word was
up?
with God, and the Word was God. And the same was in the beginning with
Right.
God, right? And that's the Word that was made
Right.
flesh, right? All right. So
Right.
in
You
the
jump down to
beginning
the
was the
14th,
Word,
14th verse.
and
It
then
tells
yeah, go ahead. And the Word
you. And
was
the
made
word was
flesh and
made
dwelled.
flesh.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. And the world was made flesh and dwelt amongst us. That's clear as day, James.
Yeah. And then so we know in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was made flesh. I mean, we know what happens in Genesis 1. So let's go to Colossians. We know in Genesis 1 the Word was used to make everything. Everything
This is
was
the
made
book.
with the Word.
It's the book of Colossians, chapter 1, verse 15, who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature. By him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in the earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him.
And how can you get around that? Look, the Word was used to make everything. It wasn't nothing made without the
Right.
Word of God. So when you talk about the glory he had before, that was the glory and power he had when he created everything. And he wants that back. And we know he gonna get it back in
Right.
the end.
Right. And it says here in the 17th verse, and he is before all things, and by him all things consist.
The Word. All things exist by the Word.
Powerful. Now let's look at this video here. We're seeing an example of that. I'm gonna go back just a little bit.
Was Lord wind, and Will was seen as the moist wind of spring. But even during the Babylonian period, the people never stopped honoring him. They called him Elil. Many Babylonian kings still traveled to the holy city of Nippur to seek recognition of their right to rule. Before Enlil, the sky god Anu was seen as the chief god of the Mesopotamian pantheon. Enlil is Anu's son. He is credited for making the earth a perfect place for human.
And you heard right there, right? And Lil was his son. Now I want to make this clear, but for brothers get to jumping out the window, okay? There are mythos that we do not apply to the Most High and his son concerning the biblical narrative. There are certain things in the Babylonian myth that we do not take credit for. Okay, let's make that clear, right, James?
Because hey, again, different cultures have different cultural contexts, and they got some stuff going on over there that our text don't talk nothing about. And our text, as we
Right.
believe, comes straight from the Most High, while they was getting theirs through intermediaries and these different lesser gods.
But let me say something real fast, man. And not only that, our story follows the lineage. See, the Babylonians and all those people where you get these texts from, they were not the chosen lineage, though the chosen lineage came out of that area through the Chaldeans, right? So the chosen lineage where the text and the information was being stored in the house of Noah is where Abraham got his information from. So Abraham was not one to get his information from over here from these people in their text. Abraham got his information directly from the highest ranking man who survived the flood, him and his son Shem. I think they records might be just a little bit more accurate considering the position that they was in.
Yeah, that's a powerful point, and I want to bring that out, right? If you can, I'll go ahead and grab mine. But in the book of Jasher, you know, the book that you Negroes don't want to read, it talks about exactly what Iz just said concerning Abraham learning directly from Noah and Shem, right? If you got that passage, if not, I'll grab mine.
Give me a second. Let me get it up.
All right, no sweat. All right, so we're gonna keep moving forward here with the video.
To live by separating the heaven from the earth. Enlil is considered as the second most powerful Mesopotamian god next to his father, Anu.
I mean, it don't get no more clearer than that, James. He's the second power under his father. That's biblical.
Hey, and he's king and priest of heaven. The order of Melchizedek begins and ends with him.
That's right. You know, and I just want brothers and sisters to be able to see this because it's
real fast, Salaki.
Oh, that's it. Go ahead.
Yeah, Salaki. It says somebody in the comments. Shout out to everybody in the chat in the comments. But I don't want to mess the brother name up. His name is Yaquab Israel. But he asking a couple interesting questions in the chat, man. I'm gonna read the first one. Is that cool, Yermia?
Yeah.
I want to pause the questions till later on.
I mean, just a quick sidebar comment on it. Go ahead.
Just quick. He said, have you brethren heard of Selah Shalom on YouTube, the Owasapi Bible?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't mess with that. I'll just tell the truth on that.
Yeah, it just so happened that our brother Iz laid the smackdown on Candy Ass concerning someone who was promoting the Owasapi Bible. So yeah, we don't rock with that. That's garbage. All right, we stay far away from the creepy forest. Okay.
Let's hit that play button.
All right, Iz, you got that.
I'm still grabbing that right now. Give me a few more seconds. I got you.
He was seen as a god who was stronger than Anu himself. There was also a practice of invoking their names together in rituals. Enlil possessed the tablets of destiny, which contained the fates of gods and humanity. It gave them immense power and authority.
All right, so notice, sometimes shout out to IUIC. When they greet each other, they say, in the name of the Most High in Christ. That's what they say, in the name of the Most High in Christ. You got brothers like ourselves, we say it in Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, in the name of the Most High in Christ. Right? Yahweh, the name of the Father. Yahweh Shai, the name of the Son. So we invoke the name of the Father and the Son. Right? And we can find that in Colossians. Right, invoking the Most High God and His Son, Colossians chapter 3, starting at the 15th verse to the 17th verse.
So, and he has the book of life, and Lil got the book of life. That's what they're talking about right now.
Right, there you go. Well, I mean, this is amazing, man. When you actually look at it and actually check the parallels and understand that this is not plagiarism, it's actually parallels stemming from one singular family, which we're going to go into in just a moment.
And it's hard to call it plagiarism when Abraham is from the region. That's all I'm saying. Abraham from that region. How he plagiarizing his own culture?
Right.
black-headed people, which refers to the Sumerians and father of the gods. In his role as Lord Wind, Enlil was seen as the moist wind of spring, but also the wind of a destructive storm. He was thus seen as a god with a two-sided nature. He was also credited with the creation of the hoe, a tool used in farming. The Sumerian flood story is one of the oldest flood stories in the world. It is also called Genesis. But the causes of the flood are unclear because the portion of the tablet recording the beginning of the story has been destroyed. It explains how the Sumerian people were created by Enlil, Enki, and Ninursag at the beginning.
Terrible.
Ninursag is the wife of Enki. Enki is the god of wisdom. The gods then created the animals and made them multiply on the plains. The first cities, Eridu, Bactibara, Shuruppak, Sippar, and Lyric were built, and the kingship descended from heaven.
All right, so I want to point this out real quick too. Watch this. They said that he had two natures, right, James? He said that he had two natures. Watch this, right? This is Psalms. This is the book of Psalms. That's not it. Psalms chapter 68. Hey, Elder Lahab, if you can read this, Psalm 68, we're going to read 35.
Let me get there, Jeremiah. That's all you want is you want verse 35?
Yeah.
This is Psalm 68, chapter 68, verse 35. They say, O God, thou art terrible out of all the holy places. The God of Israel is he that giveth strength and power unto his people. Blessed be God. You sure that's what you wanted?
See that? Oh God, thou art terrible, right? Out of the holy place, right? So we're showing two natures, right? The Most High God, who's a loving God as well, right? Let's get another one. Give me Psalms 76 and 12.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 76, verse 12. He shall cut off the spirit of the princes. He is terrible to the kings of the earth. You want me to read it again, Jeremiah?
He shall read it again.
This book of Psalms, chapter 76, verse 12. He shall cut off the spirit of the princes. He is terrible to the kings of the earth.
Right. So we see this two natures. Let's go to Psalm 17 and 7.
Get back. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 17, verse 7. And it reads, Shew thy marvelous loving kindness, O thou that savest by the right hand them which put their trust in thee, from those that rise up against them.
Right. Show thy marvelous loving kindness, O thou savest by thy right hand them which put their trust in thee, from those that are rise up against them. So we're seeing these two natures, right? Because James, what do they teach us in the Christian church? God is all love, right?
But we know that God
they don't never talk about this.
Go ahead, I finish off. My bad,
but they don't ever talk about this terrible God here. Okay, go ahead, you got it.
God said he bring both good and calamity, which most people just
Right,
translate as evil, but good and calamity. Why? Because he's a just God. In order to be
right,
just, you have to be capable of bringing vengeance. It's necessary. And that's
right.
that's the two natures of God. He's loving, but he can be just, which means he gets vengeance for those who can't get it for themselves. Just
That's
like
right,
any father has to be. You have to be
right.
firm, but you also have to be loving. That's why they teach you to be like unto God in all aspects.
That's right. Is you want to say anything on that? Because they teach in the Christian church, God is all love, right?
Yeah, love to beat the snot out of somebody wicked. Nah,
Right,
he's a wonderful Lord, man. He's a wonderful Father, man. And I don't think that we ought to expect him to not have a personality we made in his image and his likeness. So, if you're a loving person and you have wrath as well, then we shouldn't exempt the Most High from that, so that can soothe our consciences for the day of judgment. Is what people do that for, and they can just think they just
right,
gonna skate past God all easy. And he's so loving, so he won't worry about. No, he gonna beat the snot out you for your sins if you don't destroy you. So we need to repent.
right.
So believe in his son, his death, burial, and resurrection. So I have the Noah information pulled up. You hear me out if you want me to read it.
Yeah. Bubba Shop, bring that out.
All right, so we'll read a few
Because
verses.
we want to magnify the point that Abraham didn't get the story from the Babylonians, even though he may have been familiar with these things. But when you read the account, he was a child. He never was raised in that culture, right? He got his information directly from the source. Those that survived the flood, Noah and Shem. Go ahead and bring that out.
And then in that account, didn't he pretty much leave when he was a child?
Yeah,
After
yeah.
Yeah,
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 right.
he's
Time.
I think I read
in
that
Laban.
before. Yeah,
10 years. That's right.
Yeah,
yeah.
and goes on to destroy the same gods who's in this video today.
Right. Right.
So let's just not get those stories mixed up. This is the book of Jasher, right? Extra biblical text. Everyone is mentioned. If you never heard of it, it is mentioned in the Bible in the book of Joshua and in another place. So we don't want to, and a lot of people have taboos with the text and this and that. Shoot, if you ever catch me, I'm on Clubhouse primarily, and you want to have a conversation about these things, I'm definitely up for that. This ain't the time for it. We just gonna get to it. One text I would like to bring out though, if brother's available to read it, is before we read this Jasher, is Sirach 39:1. If anybody's available to read it, Ecclesiasticus chapter 39 verse 1.
I
I
got
got
you.
you. I got. Oh, you got it there, Mia. All right.
Now go ahead, Lahab. You can read it.
All right. Let me
This is
get there. You said 39, and what is?
verse 1.
All right. Let me get there.
It
Hey,
puts things
James,
in.
I think I'm gonna take this video too and chop it up and cut out all those pauses and stuff, man. And we're gonna do it better, James.
Yeah, come on, man. That'll be easy to do, man. I do it in CapCut, bro.
Yeah, come.
This is the book of Ecclesiasticus 39. You said verse 1.
Kind, yeah.
It say, "But he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High, and is occupied in the mediation thereof, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancients, and be occupied in prophecies."
You see that? It say, if you want to be wise, right, you give your mind to the law of the Most High, occupied in the meditation thereof, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient. How do you
Right.
seek out the wisdom of all the ancient without going into the wisdom of the ancient text? All
Come.
right,
That's why it's important to read like the Dead Sea Scrolls and get context of what these first century Judaic people were reading, so we can really understand the context of the New Testament.
right. So we don't, right, because you could make up anything, we got to look to the elders, man, to really keep us on track in all the ancient and the wisdom of all the ancients. So this is the book of Jasher, chapter 8, verse 1. Without further ado, we'll read down some, and if anything come to mind, Jeremiah, I'll do that, but I'll do it for the sake of time as well. All right. So this is Jasher chapter 8, and this is where the birth of Abraham begins. It says, and it says, now Nimrod was already ruling on the earth when Abraham was born, everyone. It says, and Noah was still alive, and Shem. It says, and it was the night that Abram was born, that all the servants of Terah and all the wise men of Nimrod and his conjurers came, and they drank in the house of Terah, and they rejoiced with him on that night. And when the wise men and the conjurers went out from the house of Terah, they lifted up their eyes towards heaven, and that night to look at the stars, and they saw, and behold, one very large star came from the east and ran in the heavens and swallowed up the 4 stars from the 4 sides of heaven. All the wise men and the kings and the conjurers were astonished at the sight, and the sages understood this matter, and they knew its import. And they said one to another, this only betokens that the child that has been born to Terah this night, who will grow up and be fruitful and multiply and possess all the earth, he and his children forever, and he and his seed will slay great kings and inherit their lands. And the wise men and conjurers went home that night, and in the morning all these wise men and conjurers rose up early and assembled in an appointed house. And they spoke and said to each other, behold, the sight we saw last night is hidden from the king. It has not been made known to him. And should this thing get known to the king in the latter days, he will say to us, why have you concealed this matter from me? And we shall suffer death. Therefore, now let us go tell the king the sight which we saw and the interpretation thereof. We shall then remain clear.
So according to the prophecy concerning Abraham, that his seed will rise up and rule the earth, correct? How in the hell can a person that's not of that seed fulfill this prophecy? That makes no sense at all.
Impossible. So let's
so we argue with people about these points regularly. Like, listen, you can't insert another seed and claim that they're going to fulfill the prophecy concerning another seed. That makes no sense. All right, that is insanity.
Yeah, you can't magically become Abraham's seed either.
Right, yeah, you just go magically delicious, right? Lucky Charms, okay? No, what you got it is.
Okay. It says, all right, so we'll continue on. So they rehearsed the matter to the king, right? So jumping down to verse 15, it says, and the king said to Terah, I have been told that a son yesterday was born to thee. After this manner he was observed in the heavens at his birth. Now therefore, give me the child. This is important, everyone. Now give me the child, that we may slay him before his evil springs up against us, and I will give thee his value, thy house full of silver and gold. People taking these deals right now, right? Children for silver and gold, right? But Abraham's daddy is not going to do this. And so they have this interesting dialogue, which we're going to kind of go past. All right, you hear me out? For right now, yeah. We'll bring it out at another time.
Yeah, let's get
and
to
the so, kind of. And so when we get down to the rest of the sections, it says he goes on with the king. And so at the end of the chapter, it says, and the Lord was with Terah in this matter, that Nimrod might not cause Abram's death. And the king took the child from Terah that he had dashed, or with all his might dashed his head to the ground, for it had not been Abram. He thought that it had been Abram.
One second is, I think we need to give them a quick catch up, because some things went down. That they wouldn't be able to do. They wouldn't know if they ain't read the story yet.
Right.
What happened was pretty much they could demanded Abraham's death.
Mhm.
Terah went and got a child out the household that
Hey,
wasn't
hold
Abraham,
on.
but
And
that
I would encourage you all to go read this story because Terah did a masterful job of humiliating the king when he thought he was gonna outwit him. I mean, it was wonderful, bro. Like when he gave that example of the king's horse and all that,
yeah.
that was wonderful, man. But go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, and so he took
A
a child, I think
decoy,
from a
maybe.
servant, yeah, a servant in the household, gave it to the king as a decoy. The king, I think we at the point where he about to dash his head against the stone,
Yeah,
right?
that's what I just read. Yep. It
Okay,
said,
yeah,
and James is right. So Terah's father pulled a fast one on the king and pull a switcheroo and give the king another baby of a slave that was born in his house and saves Abraham's life. Right. It says I started at 34 again, and the Lord was with Terah in this matter, that Nimrod might not cause Abram's death. And the king took the child from Terah, and with all his might dashed his head to the ground, for he had thought that it had been Abram. And this was
Hey,
concealed from the
I ain't trying to cut you off, but somebody in the chat want to know where you reading from. Can you call the verse?
yeah, no problem. This is the extra biblical text, and this is the book of Jasher, Jasher, chapter 8, verse, and we at 34, which is very important to what we're reading right now, because what we're showing is, while you get there, if you have the extra text or pulling it up online, what it's doing is it's tying the Genesis story and adding more value to it because it's filling in the blanks. When we get to Genesis, it just shows Abraham coming out of his people's land. We don't know how Abraham grew up. We don't know, what was going on with Abraham or any of that. We don't have history of Abraham's birth or anything, right? And so this story really fills in the gaps with that.
yeah.
So right
And
now
we
we're
should
right.
be able to look at the ancient Judaic literature in that manner. Like, hey, this is what these people are writing about their ancestors, even if it's something to just give us some type of context to a cultural situation happening the day that they're trying to parallel or not, is all for our learning, right? It's all to
Right.
help us, abstract these ideas and bring them into life, into our own lives and in our own studies. And I think that's what the brother's doing right now.
Kind. And you can find that word Jasher in Joshua 10:13 and 2 Samuel 1:18. All right, we at again for everybody catching up. We at Book of Jasher, chapter 8, and now verse 35. And it says, and Terah took his son secretly together with him, with his mother and nurse, and concealed them in the cave, and he brought them their provisions monthly. Let's keep going. Verse 36. And the Lord was with Abram in the cave. And he grew up, it says 10 years or so. And I know it's like when you read the other text, it clears it, or it says some different little things, but that's nothing major. It says, and the king and the princes and the soothsayers thought that the king had killed Abram. Now, when you jump down to chapter 9, verse 36, or verse 6, we jumping into chapter 9, verse 6, it says, matter of fact, verse 5, it says, and when Abram came out of the cave, right? And he went to Noah and his son Shem and remained with them to learn the instruction of the Lord, his ways. And no man knew where Abram was. And Abram served Noah and Shem, his son, for a long time. And when Abram was in Noah's house 39 years, and Abram knew the Lord from 3 years old, and he went in the ways of the Lord till the day of his death. And Noah and Shem, his son, had taught him, and all the sons of the sons, and all the sons of the earth in those days greatly transgressed against the Lord, and they rebelled against him, and they served other gods, and they forgot the Lord who had created them in the earth and the inhabitants of the earth, and made unto themselves at that time. This is very important to the lesson. At that time, every man his God, gods of wood. Y'all hear this history? And stone, which neither could speak, hear, nor deliver. And the sons of men served them and they became their gods. And the king and all his servants and Terah with all his household were first in those that served gods of wood and stone. Now I'm gonna read this last verse and it's gonna tie it in. Verse 8. And Terah had 12 gods of large size. These are the gods that we're reading about now, that they're taking credit from the Most High and passing the credit out and divvying it up amongst these gods who descend, or these nations who descend from Shem or Noah, and they're divvying the story out according to their own will. And verse 8, and Terah had 12 gods of large size, made of wood and stone after the 12 months of the year, and he served each one monthly, and every month Terah would bring his meat offering and drink offering to his gods. Thus did Terah all the days. So these people, verse 9 wraps it up, and all that generation were wicked in the sight of the Lord, and they made every man his god, but they forsook the Lord. They forsook the Lord, the story of the true God, who they were supposed to give praise to. They forsook the Lord who had created them. And I land right here, Jeremiah.
Yeah, I just say one thing, that people should read this story. They really should, because it's very interesting. You'll find out Daniel wasn't the first person that, they ever tried to set a flame in the fire.
Yeah, the three
You'll
Hebrew
find
boys,
out,
right?
yeah, you'll find out a lot of things, just from the ancient Judaic mythology. And it's good to know, whether you don't have to hold it to the standard of the scriptures.
Mm-hmm.
You just look at it as, hey, these are just things for me to learn from. And we should learn from any Judaic text we can find.
The last little thing I'll say is this. So when we travel and keep the history of the Bible through the proper bloodline, we get the history more pure and clearer, which is what the Bible makes its boast of. That we got this directly from the ancients. We didn't get it from the ancient Sumerians. We got it from our ancient ancestors. And this is a practice that's continued with eyewitnesses account in the Bible and things like that, because Paul in 1 Corinthians says, I gave to you the gospel that was delivered unto me. Did Paul go to the ancient Sumerians and get the gospel? No, he got it from Israelites who had it before him. Because when the cultures mix, ironically, the story begins to get mixed, right? And before we know it, we got a book like the Quran, which got some similarities in it, but it's mixed, something's off. Or you get the Sumerian stories, and it got some similarities in it, but something's kind of off. It goes back to the culture of the people and us following that which was given to our ancestors to be passed down to us. Yeah.
Yeah, I want you to read the part. I believe it's
What portion, bro?
Chapter 10. Where it says he went to go live with Noah and Shem.
No, that's what I read. I read that.
Okay, read it again for me.
This is chapter 9, verse 6.
9.
It says, right. And Abram was in Noah's house 39 years, and Abram knew the Lord from 3 years old, and he went in the ways of the Lord until the day of his death. And Noah and Shem, as Noah and his son Shem had taught him.
Now, I want to go into this source here in the Bible. We're going to go back to the Bible. And knowing that they did this, that Abraham learned directly from Noah and Shem, I think that is powerful, right? And I want to show how things started to take a turn, and then we're going to go back to the video to get some more of this Babylonian myth. But I want to bring this out real quick. This is Genesis chapter 10, verse 6. It says, and the sons of Ham, Cush, Mithraim, and Put, and Canaan. Verse 7. And the sons of Cush, Seba, and let me get to the meat. Verse 9. He was, let me show that, verse 8. And Cush begot Nimrod, and he began to be a mighty everyone in the earth. Verse 9. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord, wherefore it said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. Right? And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel and Erech and Akkad and Kalnai and the land of Shinar. Now this is very important because shout out to Zion Lex, who did an excellent breakdown on this land of Shinar is actually the ancient land of Sumer. Thought that was powerful.
You can't get
Shout out
around
to
it
Zion
because
Lex.
the third dynasty of actually has written in text the ancestors of Abraham, like Sharuk in there. I think he's mentioned as Sharugi in there, and I think there's one more ancestor that's literally mentioned in the third dynasty of which everyone who believes that Abraham came from that region puts him there during that time, his family being priests in the city of during the third dynasty. And when you deal with Nimrod or Makar, as
Absolutely.
you'll find in the ancient Mesopotamian text, there's actually archaeological evidence of when this first temple of Anu was built. It was built in the city of Erech, which they mention here, or Uruk in Sumerians. They call it Uruk in the Sumerians, and the Tower of Babel, all that. There's archaeological evidence that kind of lays this out. It's just not in the same, the secular timeline is different than the biblical timeline. So they just don't line up right.
Right.
But I use relative dating. So I just make them align with one another and just call the event what it is. Hey, this event right here in real history is aligned with this biblical event when it talks about Nimrod and the beginning and foundations of Babylon.
And I think that's important because we're talking about a particular event, right? The timeline is gonna vary. So it says here in Genesis chapter 11, verse 1, and the whole earth was of one language and one speech. And it came to pass that they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the lands of Shinar, and they dwelt there, right? And they said one to another, go, let us make brick and burn it thoroughly. And they had brick and stone, and slime had they for mortar, right? And they said, go, let us build a city and a tower whose top reaches to heaven, and let us make a name lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the earth. This was the act of rebellion.
Hey, it
Because it was
get
the Most High
crazier.
God.
Oh,
You
it
got
get
it?
crazy in the Sumerian text, man. They don't go that far. They get to shooting arrows in the heavens, trying to kill the gods, to where they end
Right.
up hitting birds, and the birds start, raining blood down on them. So they thought they actually killed the gods. Like they went way beyond what the biblical text say.
Yeah.
Bible just summarize it real quick.
Yeah. And the
Right.
reason the Bible, I want everybody to know, and this is in the book of Jasher too, that the arrows turned to blood, man. And that
Right.
those were their intents, was to go to heaven and make war on God, man. That's something else. But when you were saying that, when you were saying that, James, what came to mind is the Bible is only 80 books long, you all, which is a good plenty of reading that would suffice you. So that would suffice you for the rest of your life, right? It's nobody has exhausted the Bible since it's been out. All the research that we've tried, humanity as a whole has not exhausted the Bible, the biblical research. So, like you were saying, James, this stuff is over here. But if we was to put all this stuff in the Bible and compile it, man, the Bible would be taller than most people, man. So there's
Right.
no way, the Jews being the wisest people in the world, the Israelites being the wisest people in the world, there's no way they would consider making a book and carrying around something that would be as tall as themselves. So you have to condense these things down. And so that gives us our scriptures, which is the densest of all Israelite writings. And then you have your extra biblicals as well. So you ain't doing no harm by going to read these things if it's given to you and you can handle this stuff, man. But how tall
Yeah.
do you want the Bible to be?
They want it to be 10,000 books, man, because that's
Right.
what it takes.
Right. Yeah. So this was the first act of rebellion because the Lord said that He wanted us to. Matter of fact, let me get it. This is what it says right here. Elder
I can
Lahab,
read
give me
it.
Deuteronomy chapter 30.
I got you, Elder,
32
if you
and
busy.
7. 32 and 7.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32, verse 7. It says, remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will show thee thy elders, and they will tell thee. When the Most High divided the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam,
Read on.
he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. For the Lord's portion is his people, Jacob
So
is the
what they
lot
said
of
in
his
Babylon,
inheritance.
that's right. So what they said in Babylon is, let us build a city so we will not be divided. But it's the Lord that said he separated. And they got a problem with that. Why? Because it's easier to control people when they're all together. Right? This is a satanic, demonic thing. And what are they doing today? They want to bring us all together. Right?
Nimrod.
For what?
Nimrod is
Control
called the great
purposes.
hunter for a reason. He called a great hunter
Right.
for a reason. He was not only a hunter of animals, he was the
Honor of
first to
men.
enslave men. Yeah, to hunt men and enslave them. And that's what the cities are about, to keep men in one area where you can control what they're doing and use them for your purposes. Why, if they
That's
was
right.
out scattered around, every man would be free to use the land for his own purpose and do his own ways.
And this is why we stand on the biblical principles, because we can see the sin. What they're saying in the video, that the guy Anu was upset because the humans was making too much noise. No, the noise they was making was sin, and the Most High God had a problem with sin and disobedience. All
Come.
right. So let's go back to the video.
They did. As a result, the gods decided to send a flood to wipe out the peoples of the cities. The pious king Zayusadra gets warned about the coming deluge. Shurabak, Sapar, and Lirik were built, and the kingship descended from heaven. The humans somehow upset the gods, but it is unclear what they did. As a result, the gods decided to send a flood to wipe out the peoples of the cities. The pious king Zayusadra gets warned about the coming deluge. Although it is unclear which god warned him, a tablet called the Scodian fragment provides a clue that Sasudra is a priest of the god Enki. From this little piece of information, we can make out that Enki was the one who probably warned him about the flood. Soon, massive windstorms and a great flood swept over the land. Everyone and everything was destroyed except for Zayusadra, who built an ark and sailed on it for 7 days and 7 nights. Then, Utu, the god of the sun, comes out. After seeing him, Zayusadra immediately prostrated before him. And
let me say this. You see how they take the elements. Is real quick. Give me Romans chapter 1, verse 21. You see how they give gods what they're calling gods, or there's angels that's over every element that is in control of the elements. So they credit them and call them gods. But this was the mistake that they made. Romans chapter 1 is Baba Kashab.
Yeah, Khan. This is the book of Romans, chapter 1 and verse 24. Matter of fact, it says
Now go
22.
back up. Yeah.
It say
Start at 19.
all right, this is the book of Romans, chapter 1 and verse 19. Because that which may be known by God is manifest in them, for God has showed it unto them. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. professing themselves to be wise, they became fools and changed the glory of God, the glory of the uncorruptible God, into an image made like unto corruptible man, and to birds, and to four-footed beasts, and creeping things like. Wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves, who changed the truth of God into a lie, and worship and serve the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. For this cause.
See that?
Mhm.
So, hold on, that's it.
That's
So,
it.
so as we can clearly see, they changed it, at which things that could be clearly seen, and then they started to worship the creation, such as the sun, moon, and stars, right? The elements, right? Natural disasters,
Precept.
weather, right? I got you. They started to change these things. They started to worship these things and attach God titles to these things. And I want to make this clear. James, you can speak on this as well. There was a, how would you would call people that were trying to have people come and gather amongst them, because that would generate resources, funds, and finances, right? So if you're worshiping the sun god over there, I'm going to create a temple where you can come over here with us and worship the moon. And if
Con,
you're
I
going to
think I
worship the
think
moon, another group, we're gonna create a temple that's dedicated to the stars. So you come over here and bring your money and your resources and your attention over here, so we can get some of the money that the sun god is getting, right? What you would say to that, James?
I would say, yeah, man, it's just the nature of trade. You know, when you're trading with these people,
Right,
because these people built some of the first trade routes. That's something that Nimrod or Immakar in the ancient text says, that built the first trade routes that went all over Mesopotamia into Levant, because they used to, because everybody got their trees from Lebanon in the ancient world. Everybody from Babylon to Assyria to the
right.
biblical text, everybody got it from there. So they were setting that up. What that brings you in contact with?
Egypt,
Upper with Egypt. Thank you. That's when you start getting your first dynasty of Egypt. What are you finding there? Lapis lazuli. Lapis lazuli only comes from the Near East. So they're getting that over there in Egypt now. They're
right,
exchanging ideas. So now you got Re emerging as a sun god, just like you had Utu over in Sumeria. Now the cultures are merging because you have ideas coming together.
right,
These cultures merge, and guess what they got to do? They got to synthesize it. So we're going to get a bit from you, a bit from me, and make it make sense to this new culture that we're starting here, and the new environment that we're in, the new jobs and specializations that we need to make this culture
right,
that we're creating flourish. So you make gods of this specialized thing, like uh a god of a building, architect god. You have a god of farming. You have, of course, you need your midwife. So you have a mother goddess. You know, that's over that. You know, you have all these different aspects that emerge from these cultures. But in the ancient Judaic culture, we say no, it's the one God who gives us that all, and these other entities are just His angelic beings that these other people are worshiping instead of worshiping the true God.
Yeah, I want to read something, man, if it's cool.
yeah, you got it.
It's yeah. Can you hear me okay? Clearly.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
I.
Okay. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 18, verse 1. It says, He that liveth forever hath created all things in general.
Right,
And then let's jump one more. This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 13, verse 1. It says, Surely vain are all men by nature who are ignorant of God, and could not out of the good things that are seen know him that is. That's fire. That precept right with that Romans 1:20, don't it? Neither by considering the works did they acknowledge the
yeah,
workmaster, but deemed either fire or wind or the swift air or the circle of the stars or violent water or the lights of heaven to be thought the gods which govern the world. Exactly what we saying in the Bible, man. They looked on these things and thought that, or the violent water. Remember, Christ was walking on the water and he calmed the sea. He checked the violent water. So if anybody thought the waters were stronger than him, he checked them, right? These are things that they deemed to be the gods of the world, or which governed the world. You see? So I'm a year right there, Jeremiah.
Yeah, which Christ made all those things subject under him. See?
Man, I got to keep reading.
So I just wanted to point out the fact that. Oh, okay.
Shoot, you didn't say it. I might as well go read it. Salaki, it say verse 3. It say with whose, because I was overthinking, I should have kept going. You didn't say it, so it say verse 3. With whose beauty, if they being delighted took them to be gods, let them know how much better the Lord of them is. For the first author of beauty, had created them. You see that?
Right. Yeah, man. So I just wanted to point out, as we're listening to this, I wanted to point out the economic shift and empowerment by creating a temple. What is the benefit of creating or worshiping multiple gods? It brings a certain level of boom to the economics of the individuals who are creating these temples.
It gives them status as well.
To raise their level of status. Why? Because people are now coming to them. If you are into agriculture, you're going to go to the temple that's dedicated to the god of agriculture. If you are suffering from storms and violent natural disasters, you're going to go to the god of that, right? To say, hey, spare us.
Give him sacrifices.
Right. So we have to understand why they were doing these things in antiquity. You say, well, damn, why was they doing? They don't make no sense. Why are you worshiping multiple gods? Well, we have to explain it to you so you can see why they will be doing these things and what will be the interest or benefit for them to create temples to multiple gods, because it is a financial and economic boom to the society in which they live. This is what separated the nation of Israel from all other nations. We're going to keep going here. Let me go back just a little bit.
And you two, the god of the sun, come to him. After seeing him, Zayusudra immediately prostrated before him and made a sacrifice. An ox were killed by him in honor of you two. After learning about Zayusudra's great escape, the mighty gods knew, and Enlil became angry. How did he manage to escape? They asked. Enki was later found guilty, and the gods said, we have made you swear by heaven and earth not to tell any human about the flood. Zayusudra, after seeing his savior getting scolded by the gods for helping him, prostrated himself before Anu and Enlil as a show of respect and hoped that the gods would be satisfied and forgive Enki. It worked, and the gods grant Zayusudra eternal life for having preserved the animals and seed of humankind, and also pardons Enki. The gods then settle Zayusudra in an overseas country, the land of Dilmun, where the sun rises east. In the later Akkadian version of the flood story, recorded in the Epic of Gilgamesh, Enlil was the one who caused the flood. In this, Anu is referred to as the Lord of the Firmament, while Enlil is regarded as a warrior and counselor. And as a counselor, Enlil tells the gods that humans have been making too much noise and that it's so intolerable. So, he proposes that the gods can live peacefully only if all the humans are dead and to kill them all. He comes up with the idea of sending a flood which is big enough to wipe out the entire human race. In this version of the story, the hero is Utnapishtim instead of Zayusudra. Like the previous version, he was warned by Ye, the Babylonian version of Enki, that a flood was coming. He instructs him to build a huge boat in order to survive the flood. The flood lasted for 7 days. The flood was Enlil's decision alone, and the other gods didn't fully agree with him. Ishtar, the goddess of love, mourned the destruction of humanity, and when it finally came to an end, she promised Utnapishtim that Enlil would never cause a flood again. When Enlil sees that Utnapishtim and his family have survived, he is outraged, but his son Ninurta speaks up in favor of humanity, arguing that, instead of causing floods, Enlil should simply ensure that humans never become overpopulated by reducing their numbers using wild animals and famines. Maybe Thanos was right. You don't know that! What Zayusadra did in the previous version of this story, Utnapishtim made a sacrifice to appease the gods. When Enlil entered his ship, he was so angry. But after seeing Utnapishtim's reverence, he becomes happy and grants Utnapishtim and his wife an immortal life at the ends of the world. Before the creation of human beings, young Enlil lived in the city of Nippur. Nippur was the urban center of the gods in this story and governed by divine law. There was a young beautiful goddess living in that city with the name of Ninlil. Enlil and Ninlil both got attracted to each other. Ninlil's mother, Nisaba, was the goddess of writing. She also acted as the scribe to go bathe in the river alone. Nisaba didn't allow her to go as she might attract Enlil there. But Ninlil carelessly went to the river to bathe and, like her mother thought, Enlil went there to seduce Ninlil. He then impregnates Ninlil with a son, and that son is the moon god Nana. Enlil soon went to Nisaba to ask for her daughter's hand in marriage. Afterwards, go ahead, James, you got something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you see, they went through about 2 different
All right,
stories
yeah.
real quick showing
So-
how, oh, go ahead,
You got it. You got it.
Okay, I was just saying, you can see how they was going through like 2 or 3 different stories real quick, showing the quick parallels of them, because from the Sumerian to the Akkadian, it
Yeah.
ain't just too much a big difference between their stories too much. It's just little small details about why the gods get mad, or some may leave out why the gods got mad. Like one account is multiple gods who come to the conclusion that, Enlil should send a flood. In the latest account, it was just Enlil on his own, and all the rest of the gods wasn't really with the idea of it. And they went on about convincing him to go ahead and let, the one human who survived go ahead and keep on surviving. But what y'all think so far? Or so far about the conversation and stuff?
I'm appreciating the bill, man. I'm appreciating it.
And I'm definitely appreciate the bill too. it's good to show some of these parallels between the stories because like I said, when you're dealing with Egyptologists, commitants, or whatever you want to call them, or even people that don't even really believe in anything at all, they always keep bringing up, especially on Clubhouse. You deal with a lot of people that's into a lot of these Gnostic texts, and they try to downplay the Bible or the validity of the Bible using these different texts. So I think this is a powerful bill to equip believers in the Bible with ammunition against those guys. So I like what's going on here.
Con, absolutely. Can y'all hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yeah, man. I want you to bring that information that you had, man. Share your screen, huh?
All right, let me pull it up real quick.
Come on. So while he's pulling that up, man, that was a quick variations of the flood stories that we encountered. We went and we showed that Abraham actually got his information from Noah and Shem. The Babylonians during the time of Sumer and ancient Akkad are people that are stemming from Hamites. They always try to say that Ham is the father of the black race and place them only in Africa. Well, if Ham is the father of the black race, Ham is also the father of the Babylonians. The ancient Babylonians that was started by Nimrod. And that's what they don't never talk about that. And they go out of their way to use whitewashing to because James got another excellent presentation that he did on the original Eurasians.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And them also being a people of color. They don't want to talk about that.
I mean, when you deal with most ancient peoples, they're people of color. Even the ancient Europeans, you don't really start seeing, well, excuse me, what we would call white until like early Bronze Age. It really starts coming out and proliferating throughout the earth. But even now today, they're only like 2% of the global population. So it's not like this is just some major thing that's been everywhere at all times. In ancient times, most people were dark to brown skin. Even the ancient Europeans, like the Britons, like Cheddar Man. Cheddar Man's a dark skinned person. He's not a white person. So I mean, it's not, nothing against it, but it's just the facts.
Right. And so, I got a personal stake in this argument. We're going to keep hashing this thing out. You know what I'm saying? We trying to work on James to go ahead and come on back to Bible.
Man, he never went away. It's just ain't been the center topic, baby.
Yeah, I know you ain't. I'm just giving you a hard time. But our whole thing is that all these things line up perfectly, man. If you start to look at the parallels, you understand that he has done an excellent job of creating a model that shows the example that the Bible is actually real and what it's saying, bro, scientifically. And I think it's something that needs to be explored. And I want to give honor to this brother for his diligent work, for exhorting the Bible and amalgamating science biblically, because I think it's something that is needed because the Bible is under attack every day. We have so many of our brothers that we've lost based upon claims of plagiarism, based upon claims of fraudulent claims concerning some of the narratives. They don't understand how the timeline works, James.
Based upon science, right, Jeremiah?
Right.
And that's why I say I gotta second what you just said about this brother James, man. His work is critical to showing people that science and the Bible don't bump heads with each other. If anything, science confirms the Bible. Right. So I want to give you your praise too, James, for you to be digging in all those them scientific journals and bringing the information out, and the model that you built using biblical characters to show that and DNA ties in with each other. All praises to you, brother. You hear me?
All praise to the Most High, man. I'm gonna be honest, man. It's just from dealing in the community, man. Y'all know I've been around the community back since Kemet on trial days, and it was just a lot of the questions they was asking at the time. I felt like our community didn't have the answers for those questions because they was digging into the science more. They was saying, "Hey, y'all ain't talking about DNA. Y'all ain't talking about archaeology. Y'all ain't talking about this." So
Yeah, shout out to the Garfields of the world.
yeah, exactly. The pressure they put on is good.
Right,
Ain't nothing wrong with haters.
right,
Ain't nothing wrong with haters. They press you to be better. And so I wanted to answer those questions. So I started digging in. So, come up with that model. But it's just that I took the chance on, look, man, if I really believe that these scriptures are true and valid, that the most high is truth, then science gonna have to align. It's gonna have to fall in place. So I went and dug. And it was just a matter of, getting over the roadblocks that a lot of philosophers
hey,
in the
it
history of science
purposely
put there.
purposely placed there,
Exactly. Like time, like making time an issue.
Right,
Why should time be? Why aren't we just looking at the archaeological record for these events
right,
taking place? Forget the date. Let's not travel. Let's look at for the events. If we can get the events and see the chronological order of the events, and they all line up, then they talking about the same thing. It don't matter what date you put on it. They still talking about the same thing. And that's how, I build it out because, there's a lot of people that, they curious about this Bible thing, but, they've grown up in this age of information where science is everything, you know? And if you can't give it to them in a way that they can accept it, then you can't be mad at them for not accepting it. They just can't accept it the way you're giving it to them. So I
right,
was like, I'm gonna find a different way to present it to them from the scientific perspective. So then that can bring them back closer to the Bible and be like, well, okay, I can see what's going on here. Because, if we look at things like, for instance, academia treats oral traditions completely different than historical records, right?
right,
So if you go look at African oral traditions, they're not concerned with specific dates. No, they're concerned with the events, having some type of, dance, some type of ritual or something to commemorate this event for all times, just as an ancient event that happened. So
right.
when we're looking,
That
oh, go
leaves
ahead.
that leaves a cultural impact.
Exactly. So it's remembered forever through the culture, right? So when you have a traumatic event like the last ice age that happened in human history, where you have the bottlenecking of the human population, pretty much cutting them down to a very small group or an isolated family. You have the element of water being used to do that. You have not only humanity, but also ancient, quote unquote, archaic humans that can be summarized as the sons of gods that are talked about that come down to the daughters of men because you
Right,
have that admixture that goes on. The
right,
ancient DNA shows all this to be true and valid, and that's what the Bible's talking about. But they disguise you by saying, oh, well, that happened 100,000 years ago.
right,
Well, if you say, well, I'm not gonna pay attention to 100,000 years ago, I'm gonna look for the event, you find that, man, this flood story is actually talking about the last ice age. That's all it's talking about. And once you can prove that to people, it's hard to get away from this Bible. It's hard.
right.
It's hard because the
Come
science
on
lines
back
up.
to Bible. Shout out
Yeah,
to Bible Machine.
for real. And, and that's what and that's why I think the bringing academia is important. Just like when we brought up this topic right here, I was like, man, I'm gonna make sure I grab something from academia, throw it over here into the topic so people can see that academics actually do look at it the way we're talking about. Even though these brothers ain't read this paper yet or nothing, went and talked about it before I brought it up, you're gonna see academia talking about the same type of stuff that we talking about because why? We're taking the time to really explore these ideas, right? So everybody can see my screen, right?
Yeah, we can see it.
All right, you see it right here. The paper is called Worldwide Waters, Eurasian Flood Myths and Their Connections, right? This is from Georgia Southern University. So that we ain't just grabbing this out of nowhere, right? By Logan McDonald. So I'm gonna go down to page 9 and start there. Let me see if I can get down there quicker. Probably need to use this tab on the side. I just noticed it. Let's see. Look, one more. There you go, right there. All right, it says plots of the Eurasian flood myths. And if you look at the map down here, you see they just talking about ancient Mesopotamia. I don't know why they're calling it that, because that's actually the name of Laurasia is the name of right the land formation right after Pangea. And I believe that that's pretty much what the ancient flood earth looked like. One day I'll do a presentation about it and show everybody what it looks like. But it says plots of the Laurasian flood myths, especially those from Babylon, Sumer, and Assyria, carry many common traits. Although some elements of each myth remain unique to the particular myth, one likely reason for most these stories share the most in common is because these three empires made up Mesopotamia. Babylon was the southernmost part of Mesopotamia, Sumer was the middle portion, and Assyria made up the north, right? So we're looking at this right here. Remember, we talked about the trade routes, right? You can see even over here, you got Phoenicia with there you go, Byblos right there. That's where you're getting all of your stuff from Tyre, Sidon, right here. You uh Lebanon, you getting all of your wood from there. Even Sumer, ancient Sumer was getting their wood from that region. You
Right.
got Assyria and stuff up here. So they're all connected through trade. So these ideas are gonna be shared throughout this entire region. You see the green even goes over here into Egypt. So you see it, it's going to be shared throughout this entire region. So when you're seeing these like stories, it's not because they're plagiarizing each other. No, they're meeting each other and incorporating these ancient traditions amongst one another. And all of them seem to have a tradition of an ancient flood. That's why some people even try to argue that it may have been a local flood. But like I said, it's talking about the last ice age, and that's global. But let's go ahead with the rest of it. It says the Babylonian culture was the oldest extant recorded flood record. The Epic of Atrahasis. The text focuses on Atrahasis, a primeval human who goes through a journey to search for eternal life. In this story, the lesser of the Babylonian gods are forced to do what the gods above tell them to. They get tired of this, so they rebel against the gods above them. Left without a servant class, the upper gods created humans to do their bidding. So this is the story about where they created humans just to do pretty much slave labor. However, the gods forget to set limits to the human age, and the human population increases. Remember the biblical story. God sets a limit to human age after the flood, right?
Right.
So the human population increases, as does the noise they make or their sin, like the brother Jeremiah was saying. This human clamor disturbs the gods, so Enlil, Lord of the air and earth, guardian of the tablets of destiny, or the book of life, decides to send the flood to wipe out humanity. However, Enki, Enlil's half brother and the Lord of the earth and the waters, who created the humans, does not wish this to happen. He visits Atrahasis in a dream and tells him of his half brother's plan to destroy humanity. He commands Atrahasis to build a boat for himself, his family, and a pair of every animal. Thus, all aboard the boat survive a storm that lasts 7 days and floods the entire earth. Of course, the biblical
Hey, you know
40
something
days.
too?
Go
This
ahead,
is
Ak.
also an example of them trying to glorify Satan as well,
Mm.
right? Trying to make him be the good guy that said, "Oh, we need to save you guys." They did that same thing with that movie, Noah, with Russell Crowe, the fallen angel. They made the
Oh,
fallen angel
yeah.
help Noah build the boat, right? Which is
Yeah.
nowhere in scripture. Okay.
Nowhere, no ancient text. But they want to make them good guys.
Yeah, they want to make the fallen angels good guys who got kicked out of heaven, right? And you can read about that war in the book of Jude,
Hmm.
right? You got it, James.
All right, let's continue on. The gods then decide to create a way to keep the human population in check so their noise will never get so loud, right? So that's just the summary of that. Later, I'm just gonna read the summaries, but at the end of here, it actually gives all the stories to it. In the end, but this is just a, quickly go through and give you what academia is saying, which is the same stuff. The Assyrian story, the Epic of Gilgamesh, offers a similar plot. Many scholars believe the flood portion of the Epic of Gilgamesh is a later addition to the already extant text in order to bring it into accord with the Epic of Atrahasis. In this story, Gilgamesh experiences the death of his only friend Enkidu, and actually there's an anime,
Yeah, I seen that, bro. I seen
yeah, that
that.
actually illustrates their combat, because that's actually the ancient story of them, that they became friends through fighting each other,
Yeah,
right?
and that dude was supposed to be what I would call a damn a caveman because he was covered in hair and he was all about fighting in war.
Well, yeah, I mean, it could be a story about a archaic human that became friends with one of these ancient
Right,
Neanderthal,
right,
Denisovian type creatures that they
right,
kind of expounded on or something like that. Nothing wrong with that. You know, they gotta build in these ancient motifs into their literary devices, or else it'll be forgotten in time. You know, because
right, right. Hey,
these are
Is,
just
are you
oral
there?
traditions written down.
Is, are you there? Yeah, a reason I'm calling him is because this sounds similar to the story in the uh in the book of Lamech of Cain. Had a similar story where Lamech befriended a wild beast,
Mm.
and the wild beast became his best friend. I mean, this stuff is all together, bro. I mean,
Yeah, but
you,
it's ancient motifs of the
yeah,
ancient. All of them use these literary devices
yeah,
because they help seal home deep truths that we all can relate to. We all can relate to having a friend that we started off with. Me and you couldn't get along. We was always butting heads and stuff. Next thing you know, we the best friends on the planet. We
right.
all got that experience, so we can relate to this. So you throw it in the ancient tradition or your oral tradition. That way, it exists for a long time. Mankind begins writing these traditions down. That's how you get these ancient epics.
That's right.
Mhm. But the Assyrian story, I mean, it's pretty much the same story, man. I ain't gonna just reread everything to y'all, but it's pretty much the same story. But they have like the different elements. So I just want to highlight the different elements to it. Like this one right here has the Enkidu and the Gilgamesh fight, or the ancient fights, which is like the most ancient hero story in the world.
Right.
Um, let me see if there's anything else to really build. All right, here you go. Right here, I want to go into this section right here. It says this collection of flood stories, which was all the other ones, contains two outliers. Right, they're gonna highlight how two different stories, ancient flood stories, are really unique. The first is the Egyptian flood narrative contained in a number of places, most importantly in the Book of the Dead. There are various versions of the myth, but this distillation pulls the common elements from them all. So they just pretty much saying they're pulling all the common aspects from the different stories and going to give us the synopsis of it, right? The basic format of the tale says that Ray sent his daughter Sekhmet, which is actually where we get ancient vampire traditions from, Sekhmet, down to earth as a manifestation of his rage to destroy a part of mankind. Ray was growing older, and humans began mocking him and disobeying his laws, thinking he was too old and feeble to enforce his rule. In short, they no longer feared his wrath. Ray only granted a portion of mankind killed, but once Sekhmet began killing, she wouldn't stop. She killed so many people that the blood of mankind flooded the land, creating a large lake of blood which she drank from. Ray considered his anger and came up with a plan to halt the killing, tricking Sekhmet into drunkenness and regret. So pretty much, the Egyptian flood story is different because, the flood is blood, and like I said, this goes back to one of the most ancient things that create the vampire myth from the drinking of blood, right?
Right.
Then the second outlier is not geographic but structural because of the monotheism or henotheism, to correct that, because we know that ancient Israelites were henotheistic, not monotheistic. But
Right.
there's not a big difference. Again, henotheism is we only worship the true God at the tippy top of the pantheon, while we do acknowledge other gods do exist. And we know this is in the Bible because the Bible talks about these other gods as Israel is going through, like conquering the Palestinians and different things. And we know that archaeology proves one of the funniest things that I think that we'll ever know is that what ancient Israelites used to do is take these ancient temples and turn them to outhouses. So when you get the thing where they shitting on your gods, that's where it come from. Like they take and turn your temple to outhouses and leave your gods in it to watch them take a dump. Like this is actually in the archaeological record of ancient Israel. But the second one is the monotheism or henotheism of the Israelites. The story of Noah in the book of Genesis details a worldwide flood. Noah and his family were the only righteous people left on earth, while everyone else rebelled against Yahweh. Yahweh decided to flood the entire earth, but he was going to spare Noah and his family. He commanded Noah to build the ark with specific portions and to put 2 of every kind of animal on the ark. So you can see the similarities there, but it's one being doing this. And this will go back and they're going to highlight something that Jeremiah was saying earlier about the duality of the Most High. He commanded Noah to build the ark in the Pacific portions and put 2 of every animal on the ark, along with many more animals to be used for sacrifices. Because remember, of the clean animals, he put 7. He didn't put 2. It was the unclean. It was 2, which showed there was a law there was a dietary law if he knows the difference between clean and unclean animals. And we know that Genesis, I think it's 26:5 says Abraham obeyed the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. So we know they existed. It says, and Noah was obedient. The flood lasted 40 days and 40 nights, which is different from all the other ones because there's 7 days and 7 nights. And when the rains finish, Noah sends out a raven and it comes back. Then Noah sends out a dove, but it comes back. And after 7 days, he sends out the dove again and it comes back with an olive branch. He waits another week and sends out the dove, but it doesn't return. So he knew that it was solid ground. Then Noah and his family, oh, that jumped more than I wanted it to. Then Noah and his family and all the animals get off of the ark, and Noah sacrifices to the Lord, which is something that's common also in the other one. But this is another unique part. God sends a rainbow as a sign that he will never flood the earth again. But Noah and his family does not receive eternal life like many of the other survivors of the other Laurasian stories. I would beg to disagree with that, me personally. Though there may be mistakes and things that will happen, no man was righteous. Every man falls short of the glory of the Most High, but that does not mean that at least some of them will not receive eternal life. Amen. They didn't do it in the
We still
story.
had the possibility for
Exactly.
eternal life, if that's what you're trying to say, James. And that's a nice catch right there.
Mm-hmm. And it says the impetus behind the flood varies in degrees from the pettiness of the gods to the vileness of the human race. Because remember, in some of them is the gods who just get mad because they noisy. But if you go into the biblical text, it tells you it's about the violence of the human race. And in some of the other ones, it does too. The Egyptian story details the flood happens because mankind was no longer respectful and obedient to Ra. In the Babylonian tale, the gods decide to flood the earth to decrease the human population because the noise of the humans may disturb the gods. The gods in the Assyrian version do not have a reason for the flood. They simply want to cause one. In the Eridu Genesis, the tablet does not contain all the parts of the story, but scholars believe that it is likely to do with the noise again. The biblical account tells that humans were wicked, and because Yahweh is just, he would not allow the wickedness to continue. And that's his duality, right? Because he is just God, he must punish the wickedness. He can't be all love. His love is shown in the punishment of the wicked, right? Because if there's no punishment in the wicked, there is no justice, right? So it has to be dual. That's why a lot of even ancient Assyrian texts are dualistic. They always deal with a dualistic God, not just a one-way God like the modern Christianity
Hey,
speaks.
can I say something, James?
Yeah, of course.
That just goes to show what we believe our text teaches, that there is nothing new under the sun, and we can see all the wickedness that's going on in this world today, and we know that there's no way possible that it can keep going on this way. And I just want to throw that in. I just want to say that, bro.
Oh no,
Yeah.
no problem.
Hey, I want to show something too, real quick, on what you were saying about the Pantheon.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, do me a favor, because my computer's tripping. Can you pull up the blue letter for us real quick? I want you to go to Revelations chapter 4.
Oh shoot, I
You
did.
know, yeah. You want me to read something, Jeremiah? Are
Yeah, I
you
want to go
good?
into I want to go into that. I want to show something with the 21 elders. When we had this conversation, we trying to figure out who is these 21 elders that's in heaven.
All right, you wanted to go to the blue letter?
Yeah.
All right, what you need at?
Let's go to Revelations 4. You can start at 4. This is to substantiate the henotheism of the ancient Israelites. This right here, boys, is clear. Shout out to the Precepticons, man. We pulled this out because it was a question about whether or not human beings go up into heaven. And a brother tried to pull this to prove that there are human beings, terrestrial beings in heaven. And I'm like, nah, bro, that ain't the case. And so it substantiates the Sanhedrin that's in heaven. This is powerful. Right? Yeah, can you read that, Elder Lahab?
What verse you want to start at? You want to start at 9 or 10? Which, I mean, you want to get straight to the hit,
Yeah, let's
or
get
you want to read?
Shoot, even verse 4 got jabs at it first. Verse 4.
Start at 4. We'll read that.
Okay, this the book of Revelations, chapter 4, verse 4. And round about the throne were 24 seats, and upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white raiment, and they had on their head crowns of gold.
Right.
And out of the throne proceeded lightning and thunders and voices, and there were 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of God. And before the throne there was a sea of glass like unto crystal, and in the midst of the throne and round about the throne were 4 beasts full of eyes before and behind. And the first beast was a lion, and the second beast like a calf, and the third beast had a face as a man, and the fourth beast was like a flying eagle. And the 4 beasts had each of them 6 wings about him, and they were full of eyes within, and they rest not day and night, saying, Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, which was and is to come. And when those beasts gave glory and honor.
One second. I think a lot of I have never heard nobody talk about this, but have you guys seen the new Galaxy, what they call the galaxy of they got Batista in it, man. What's the name of that superhero movie, man?
Oh, Guardian of the Galaxy?
Guardian of the Galaxy. Have you seen that?
No, I ain't seen a new one.
I only saw the first one.
Okay, so listen, when y'all get time, go watch that. There's a scene where they go to a planet, and what Elder Lahab just read, you can also read this in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 1. They go to a planet that is made up of it got like rings around it, and it got a bunch of eyes on it.
Yeah, you know that's based on ancient Kabbalistic thought. Like that's when Marvel and all, like when you get really to get into the one above all and down from there, you dealing with, you know, ancient biblical thought, like the way that the Jewish people think about it.
Yeah, the Bible calls them seraphims. Now these seraphims were in this movie. They went into it and jumped on it. It was spongy. They was inside of it and put on these weird clothes. Y'all, when y'all get a chance, check that movie out.
Now you got me wanting to watch
it. Right now, if you Google, matter of fact, Google seraphim real quick. Google Seraphim, and you'll see an image of what I'm talking about. And this image that comes up, you're going to see this in this movie, right? All right,
Which
scroll.
one?
Yeah, scroll down. Look up the one with the rings.
Right here, like that.
No, next to it. The other
Right
way.
here?
The other way. That right there, down at the corner.
Down
You
here.
see that? Yeah, that right there is what's in the movie, bro. But there's other descriptions that they have of it.
Oh shoot! It
It
went.
ended up being a video, but there's other
Yeah, it ended up being
descriptions.
a video.
Yes, other descriptions they have where all the rings around the eyes also have eyes on them. It tells you
Man,
this.
it won't
in
let me
Ezekiel.
turn it into an image.
Yeah.
Oh well.
But that's it. The Orphan. Yeah, that one. That's what's in the movie, y'all. And tripped me out. I was like, whoa, I was just studying on that, bro. And this is what's being described as what is in the heavens. And I just look at it as a celestial body. I believe those are what we're seeing that we're calling stars. I don't believe in outer space, right? That's just my personal preference, right? I believe that these are celestial bodies that are put there just to simply be beacons of light for, as it tells us in Genesis chapter 1, verse 14, signs and wonders, right? So I wanted to bring that out, but I want to go into the 21 elders. Look into that. Click on that 21 elders.
Let me finish reading this right quick, these last two verses, and then we can get into the blue letter with the definition and everything.
Okay.
Revelations 4:9. And when those beasts give glory and honor and thanks to him that sat on the throne, who liveth forever and ever, the 4 and 20 elders fall down before him that sat on the throne and worship him that liveth forever and ever, and cast their crowns before the throne, saying, Thou art worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power, for thou hast created all things, and for thy pleasure they are and were created. All right, yeah.
Right. So scroll up to the 21 elders. Let's go into the blue letter on that. And you're going to see that this is actually the heavenly Sanhedrin. A brother tried to use the scripture, the 4th verse, I believe.
Okay.
A brother tried to use this scripture to prove to me that human beings go into heaven. I'm like, nah, bro, this is talking about the heavenly Sanhedrin, and the blue letter is going to tell us this.
All right, which one you trying to look at?
The
click on the 24 elders, the one that say something about the 24 elders.
Okay, let me go to the normal format then for it real quick.
You should be able to get it right there. Yeah, let's scroll down.
I don't know how to make it big.
That's okay. That's all right. Scroll down. Scroll. Go back up. Go back up. Did we already passed 24 elders? Let's see.
Shit.
Did you see where it say 24 elders? I don't see it.
Hold on.
You might be a
Make
click
sure it's
wrong
the right.
one.
No, I'm in the wrong verse. That's why.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. There you go. 24 seats, and upon which said 24 elders right there.
Yeah, right there. Click on that. Yep. Scroll down. Watch this, y'all. This is powerful. Right?
Keep going.
Right there, C. Read C.
The 24 members of the heavenly Sanhedrin, or court, seated on thrones around the throne of God.
See that? So this is evidence of the henotheism that you've been talking about, James.
Job is too.
Yeah. So you see that these elders are not natural men or human beings. These are heavenly. This is the heavenly Sanhedrin, which is the hierarchy or the pinnacle of the so-called angels in the heavens. So these are the highest ranking angels in heaven that sit in the seats of the heavenly Sanhedrin. I thought that was powerful when we brought that out. Lahab, you want to speak on that?
No, you done stole all the glory from it, so I'll just let you just have all the glory. But like you said, it was like you said, dude, it was powerful, and I think it's a good piece of information for our people to understand uh, that some of these things, if you don't really go do and hold up, son, hold up for a second. If you don't do deep searches, man, some things can get past you, man. So I thank the Lord for brothers who got the same zeal that I got, to where we can go below the surface a little bit, if you want to say, because a lot of the things we do is just surface level, man. If you when you're dealing with this right here, you got to go deeper than the surface. You got to dig all the way in. So, yeah, but yeah, like you said, I thought that was powerful when we found that out, because it was a cut to him, because he thought he had something.
Right. I appreciate that, James, man. I appreciate all you brothers showing up, man. And I think you know, I think we solidified our point concerning whether or not the Bible actually plagiarized. I want everybody to know and understand this. There's a story that is an origin for all human beings when it comes to Noah. Noah being post-diluvian, meaning after the flood, right, where all mankind come from. Our brother James have been working diligently for years to show the scientific backing of everyone coming from this singular family. And we can look at DNA to substantiate that point. So now that we substantiated that it comes from a singular family, now when it comes to the biblical narrative and ancient myths, we can see why they have similar origin stories, because it all derives from Noah and his sons. James, let me give you the last words on that. You're on mute, James.
My bad. I got my headphones on mute while I got the thing off mute. But I just want to say all praises to the Most High, man. I think this is gonna be a very, very, very powerful show for people, especially when we go ahead and edit it up and get it looking real nice, man.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot for people to learn about the commonalities of ancient cultures, that the commonality that's going to be shared when people are trading amongst each other, because naturally you're going to trade not only goods, you're going to trade ideas. I think that it's a special movement that we need to push forward, of showing how science and the Bible can align with one another and help solidify our faith even more. That's why I created the YouTube channel Concrete Biblical Truth, in order for me to go and explore those scientific ideas, give it a biblical perspective, so it can help our people, come more in time with the modern conversations that's going on, and better equipped us to deal with some of these evangelicals that come our way, some of these, Islamists, and just different, opposition that we see out there. We'll be able to hit it from every angle, even with these atheists who like to come with a pure science perspective. We can show them, hey, look, the Bible and the science align, but if you want me to, I'll just throw all the science in your face and make you look silly, you know. And that's what we about, man. We about furthering this movement, taking it to the next level, and that's what we always gonna do. And I want to thank Jeremiah, man, for giving us a chance to come on. And as always, we got to thank the Most High in the name of His only begotten for giving us the opportunity to be here, man. All praises.
All praise and glory. Elder Lahab.
Yeah, I just want to say, I do think this is a powerful lesson, because you know, we deal on Clubhouse a lot, and we deal with a whole lot of brothers that just be fighting against the Bible, man. They don't, you know, in this last time, in these last days, the Bible tells us that the love of many shall wax cold. And I think we just in that time now where people are starting to turn to their own devices. They don't want to be led by nothing. But in the end, it say come out of her. If you want to make it through, you're gonna have to come out of these different ideologies that's leading you down the road to destruction. So it's always great to be amongst brothers. And I just want to say I hope y'all brothers enjoy the rest of y'all Shabbat. And to everybody in the chat, peace, love, and blessings. And y'all, you know it's always good to deal with you, brother. James, we got to do this again, brother.
Anytime,
Everybody
man.
be easy.
Come, man. All praise and glory, man. With that, man, Source Game in the building. You know how we do, man. Another announcement, man. We're going to be putting out another tournament for the middleweight champion of the world. You understand? Or the Source Debate League is going down here at the Source, man. We're going to keep these debates popping. You understand? We just sitting back checking the landscape, man, and getting new recruits that come in here, man, because there's a lot of people that do a lot of talking, but they don't never want to get in the ring, James. They don't never want to get in the ring.
You know how that go, man. That's been how it been since the beginning, huh?
Yeah.
All that talk, but nobody want to walk, man. But hey, we ain't tripping, man. Whoever want to come and step up, man, we ready to take on all challenges, man.
That's
Source
right,
ain't never backing down. Source up and shut up, man.
That's right, man. So, man, with that, man, peace and blessings to you all. May the Most High rain down blessings and protection on you, knowing that we need it in these last days, man. Right? We need it in these last days. And shout out to the brothers that's doing this work in sincerity, man, as we continue to try to, work towards the restoration of the nation of Israel, man. Right? All praise and glory to the Most High for another great and wonderful Shabbat. You know, if you where I'm from, man, it's nice and cold outside, man. So it would be no better time to go into this information, man. So with that being said, man, we want to say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.